कर दो बस तुम. Hello friends, a very warm welcome, and in this episode we are again taking up very important and relevant themes which we are going to see, which are going to help us actually to become a more smarter and a more well versed person, because that is what actually at the end of the day is required. Whether you read on your own, whether you are going to any PPT session, or whether you are going to have a monologue, this is not going to help without dynamic interaction that was done even in the Vedic times, and that is what is required even in the times of artificial intelligence. Even Alexa or Siri or even ChatGPT cannot give you the right answers. So definitely that is why a kind of understanding is required. So you can always write in the chat box. You can always write in the comment box also when the session is there, that what kind of thinking you want to have about it or what you want to say. We are moving forward with such ideas in different directions, in different subjects and with different themes, with the obsession towards success. So the first topic is saying that China is itching to mine the ocean floor. So the question arises, first of all, that is India prepared enough to mine its ocean wealth? Mansi.
So we are already having our deep ocean mission, specifically in the Indian Ocean region. So we are having technology. I wouldn't say enough technology, but we are simultaneously working on the development of the technology also. So
There are institutes, there are different institutes, there are different projects. India is working on Indian Ocean Belt. India is working in Bay of Bengal, and even it is having a large EEZ, exclusive economic zone. So the key question is about the critical mineral supply chain, which China wants to dominate. China is having critical mineral wealth, which are even called rare earth metals. But China will not use its own rare earth metals. It will import those rare earth metals from the other countries. It will preserve its own rare earth metals. That is also what China can do. So, what the first statement says, very important for all of us, trillions lumps of nickel, copper, cobalt, and manganese. So, what are the critical minerals? Nickel, copper, cobalt, and manganese. Even we are talking through technology, not feasible without these. Even you speak on phone, not feasible without these. No biometric, nothing can work. No equipment can work as far as technology is concerned. So that is why even the EV vehicles, which we electric vehicles that we talk about, so the role of International Seabed Authority comes into picture. How mining should be regulated? There are laws, but the question arises, how mining should be regulated, or can it be regulated? That is the question which is there, very important. So deep sea mining is a very, very critical aspect. That is why whenever Chinese research vessel, which is actually a defense vessel, if it is halting, it is making a port of call at Colombo, we are worried. If it is making more inroads in Maldives, we are worried. If it is having more relations ship with more in the Indian Ocean Pacific countries, we are worried, because the demand for critical minerals is going to more than double by 2040, and we have just discussed in our previous session that India must become a giant tiger, India must become a global power, India must internationalize its rupee. Without these things, it is not possible. Most importantly, clean energy industries, clean energy, renewable energy. These all things are only possible when you have command over global supply chain, and that is why critical mineral wealth is very, very important. So here from prelims examination, China is importing these critical minerals. I just said, manganese कहाँ से आया? South Africa, Gabon, and Australia. Cobalt कहाँ से आया? Democratic Republic of Congo. Nickel कहाँ से आया? Philippines और Indonesia. जबकि we have already seen that with Philippines, China is having certain kind of skirmishes when we speak about South China Sea, but still these things continue. So the dependency China wants to finish. That is why geopolitical rivalry with America is making a important play over here, and they want to make sure that a deep sea mining is going to help them with the secure supplies. So China is creating its own infrastructure. So UNCLOS, the full form is United Nations Convention on the Law of Seas. Very, very important. And International Seabed Authority is largely financed by its own members. And China is giving it more money than any other donor. Same kind of structure is being imparted, like the way we have spoken about Bretton Woods institutions. When some countries tried कि moratorium होना चाहिए deep sea mining में, they failed because the pressure is by China. So that is why it is very important for India that to have more licenses to explore minerals for commercial operations. So Chinese miners, they are playing a very important role more than any other country. And as we see, they have more power, they have more technology. So we have to see India, which is having missions in Antarctica, which is having missions in Arctic, which is having Gangotri, Yamunotri, and even India is an observer to Arctic Council. Same thing goes for International Seabed Authority. So the floor, even the ocean floor for China, exploration area is bigger than Sri Lanka. See, is bigger than the area of Sri Lanka. So that is why we have to see as our emerging power that how India can make a difference. We are not following the policy of stopping China. We will have to have our own way. We will have to carve our own way with our own human resources, with our own technology. So in one way, China is breaching the monopolies, but in the other way, we can say that we have also to make our own way because China is not doing it for our own benefit, and even the Western world was also not doing so. So when we move forward, we see that the India has to make sure that it is going to have more command in the shipping, marine, and it has to have more command as far as international sea lanes is concerned. And then comes the role of research and development with the deep sea ocean flow. So economic growth is important, but at the same time, the corals and worms and sponges, all these things can play havoc, like the way we have seen with respect to other impacts of climate change. So this is also we have to see. Even China's naval submarines, they are navigating. They can use more precise sonars. They can get more data on temperature, saltiness, current, as it is already being written here. All these angles apply for India also. But India being a very, very responsible nation, you have to argue the challenges and opportunities for India, and we have to do our best. Whether it is the role of National Institute of Oceanography, whether it is the role of institutes in Chennai, whether it is the role of not international, I should say maritime university, whether it is the role of DRDO, CSIR, and so on. So anybody want to add anything before we move forward?
सर जैसे चाइना डेप्थ पॉलिसी फॉलो करता है, उसका एक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू है कि उस कंट्री के जो भी रिसोर्सेज है या फिर एलिमेंट है वो उनका यूज करता है। जब हम इंडिया को देखते हैं तो उसका काउंटर पार्ट देख सकते हैं कि वो ग्रांट और एड्स प्रोवाइड करवाता है कंट्रीज को। जैसे अगर हम सेशल्स की या मलेशिया की बात करते हैं, साउथ अफ्रीका की बात करते हैं, वहां पर बीएसएनएल के टावर्स लगवाना या फिर रोड लाइन हाईवेज क्रिएट करवाना ताकि
This is a very good question as an aspirant, but the answer arises that they are also ready to give. You must have the capacity, capability, and the manufacturing base to use it. Na? So they are not stopping us. We must have the capacity. आप बाजार से 100 किताबें तो खरीद के ला सकते हो, पर पढ़ेगा कौन?
यस।
तो इंडिया की कैपेसिटी, इंडिया का ग्रोथ हो रहा है, इंडिया इज ऑन द वे, बट देन इट इज नॉट द इंडिया इज नॉट अवेयर। करोगे कैसे? इंडिया तो बल्कि कोल इंपोर्ट करता है, तो कोल एक्सपोर्ट भी कर रहा है। इंडिया स्टील, इंडिया इज वन ऑफ द लार्जेस्ट स्टील मेकर, लेकिन कच्चा रॉ आयरन वी आर आल्सो एक्सपोर्टिंग, वी आर नॉट एबल टू स्टॉप इट। एंड बिल्लरी है, गोवा है, and even Chhattisgarh, we speak about that. So we have to understand it's a complex process. So India is aware, but then we have to raise the level, we have to increase the capacity, we have to change the economic reform जिनकी हम बात करते हैं, second generation reform, third generation reform, then only it is possible. America recreates a war-fighting command in Japan. Very interesting and very, very important when we talk about how geopolitical things change, how America wants to remain the superpower. America, Japan को ज़्यादा डिफेंस कैपेबिलिटीज देना चाहता है from the perspective of halting China's growth. So biggest military transformation is taking place definitely. South Korea is there with Japan. North Korea is another in the Korean Peninsula. It is an issue. China on the other hand is very important. So example is also given here. Kadena Air Base in Japan, America's largest in the Pacific. It is 650 kilometers from the coast of China. So you can see again geostrategic perspective. We have to see whether America is right in doing so. We cannot take away America immediately, but we are saying, is it America right in promoting so what kind of future America envisions, what kind of things it is talking about. Because countries in Africa, Latin America, and even in subcontinent, they cannot think so long. You can only have vision when your stomach is full. Without having food, you cannot have vision. So we have to understand which country is at which perspective. So that is why this is right from the American perspective, but we have to see that the India-China relationship is not dependent on India-US relationship, but then it's an ongoing friction. But as far as Japan is concerned, there is a strategic partnership which is very, very comfortable, which is very comfortable also, and comprehensive also. So my question to you, Mansi, is if Japan is militarized again, what kind of impact and what kind of relationship India is going to have with Japan?
So we are going to, again, as far as India's relations with any particular country is concerned, we are giving primacy to India's national interest. As we say that we want the countries to follow the international rules-based order, to respect the sovereignty and the territorial integrity. So in that case, we can say that India is going to uphold its own interest without hampering the interest of any particular country.
I agree with you. Yeah, and even with respect to the Second World War, the question arises that why America must be part of Japanese landscape, because unlike NATO, there is no obligation. So that is why the real command is from Hawaii. That is in the Hawaii in US. Here it is only listening with the Japanese government. So they have put up a kind of a strategic role over here. Even in the context of the Second World War, the America was doing all the thinking. America was doing all the planning for future. So in today's time, whether you have cyber attacks, whether you have other kind of strategic initiatives and strategic thinking, in that context, the forward-looking operational command becomes very much important, and it is here very near to the Chinese border. Chinese missiles are there, and what we can say is that even when Japan surrendered after the Second World War, America was of the view that why this part of the world is very important for its future strategic operations. We have already discussed about Five Eyes intelligence system. We already know about how these defense powers, they look forward to their own benefits. Same thing goes for South Korea. So South Korea and Japan, they are very, very important. Ultimately, the goal is to make sure that the forces are forward looking. They are integrating themselves in order to stop China growth, because that's not possible. So, for example, they are talking about 2+2 with America and Japan. Same, we can say our India-Japan relationship also reflect the same. So we have we must be more keen, and we must be looking forward to our own strategic space when these things happen. Because what is very important here to understand is that the defense spending has increased more than 60%. India is also increasing it. India is more dependent upon Russia for supplies, but then it is also a kind of a long-term all-weather relationship. Same thing India is happening with respect to Israel. For Israel also, we are having a kind of a strategic partnership. So the building block that it is talking about, we have to understand that the latest work which America did with Japan, can India do it? Not in the same way, but we have neighborhood first policy. We have so many islands. We have so many countries which are friendly to India. In that context, you can think about it. But we are not a power who is going to colonize. We are going to become a Vishwa Guru with the idea of sustainability and with the idea of enlightenment, with the idea of a noble world. We can move forward. So this is how Taiwan, Mansi, before we move forward, can you say what India's stand must be there with the Chinese invasion of Taiwan?
So right now, if we talk about the current stand of India as far as Taiwan, so India does not recognize Taiwan as a separate country as of now. So when we're talking about the unilateral invasion and use of force and coercion and violence over Taiwan by the China, so I don't think so India will be supporting that thing, as we again respect the sovereignty and the basic fundamental rights of the people living in Taiwan also.
Correct. So from the strategic perspective, Japan believes that Taiwan's contingency is Japan's contingency. अगर चाइना ताइवान को साथ करता है तो हमारा साथ भी मिसबिहेवियर होने का, या फिर वी आर ऑल्सो गोइंग टू फेस रिपरकशंस, एंड दैट इज व्हाई यूएस इज एक्टिंग एज अ स्पीयर एंड जापान इज एक्टिंग एज अ शील्ड, एंड फॉर इंडिया ऑल्सो अगर वहां हो सकता है तो अरुणाचल प्रदेश क्यों नहीं हो सकता, या बाकी चीज क्यों नहीं हो सकती. So we have to be on our guard. This is the question of not only South China Sea but also about Indian border also. That is why the joint forces model and India has increased partnership with the US with respect to Lamoa and other kind of other kind of strategic agreement that we have. We have to keep in mind those also. Can you move forward? We have already seen Sheikh Hasina. Now she is no more in power when we are doing this lecture, but we have discussed already that she is facing the biggest crisis because of her certain way of functioning. So, Karuna, can you throw highlight on that?
So there were protests regarding the student quota, and there were also concerns about the authoritative aspects that the elections were not fair, and that is why the protest turned out to be violent, and now the protest turned out to be violent, and now she has resigned.
I agree on the surface, you are right. Mansi, would you like to add some strategic elements to it?
So when we're talking about the impacts it can have on India, so it is being again we share land border with Bangladesh, so security reasons increases, influx of refugees can be another thing. Then protection of the rights of minorities is one aspect which is again very important on the part of India also. What role now India can play in terms of restoration of democracy in Bangladesh, and one again the short-term advantage which we can say is in the textile sector for India. So textile sector में the finished goods or the ready-made garments, which we earlier used to say that we used to face competition from Bangladesh or even right now like from Vietnam also. So there, although this has given certain space to India where we can take the leverage of the growth in this particular sector.
Yeah, you are right. And at the end of the day, it is employment. It is about the employment which the current government, the last government in Bangladesh, which was not able to provide. It was not seen to be very fair with everyone. It is not the same time like the pre-COVID times. Now everybody wants not just wages; they want a decent living, and that is why they believe the quota is going to help those who are descendants of the fighters of the Bangladesh liberation, and that is how there is a wide conflict between both the groups, and that is what we can say. This led to huge protest, and the protests are symptom of a bigger malaise, bigger disease, which Sheikh Hasina was not able to cater. So for India, it's a kind of a setback. India had to remain patient. India must remain vigilant. India must remain uh, very much calm so that as the time passes and the opportunity is being created, even if for certain time period, if anti-India stand is reflected in certain issues, policies, and also in the gestures, but India must look forward to the longer vision, and India must protect its own interest and the wider interest of the people of subcontinent.
So even from the perspective of like the stability in Bangladesh, why it is important for India also. So connectivity with the northeastern states of India. For example, we are
Right.
having different projects like Akhora Agartala railway link is there,
वो
and
भी है,
opening
it's a people contact है, and then it is not something like people are not aware the way of life over the crossing border. It is more or less same. India had also seen the same, and secondly, no good will be done to India if Bangladesh becomes a radical hotbed, or if it is promoting anti-India activities. One more nuisance will be there for India. India will have to divert its resources. So for that matter, it is very important.
जी sir.
And so now it is not only becoming a national issue for India, but also for South Asia, and also for the working of forums like SARC and BIMSTEC.
Agreed. That is also there. SARC is also already not functional. So Divya, what do you see the future of SARC? आप SARC के future के बारे में आप क्या देखते हैं? Answer.
So as far as SARC, so India's current stand is that since Pakistan and the China's BRI project, so it was passing through the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So it is violating India's sovereignty. So that is India's current stance. So until and unless that issue is resolved, the functioning of SARC would be impacted. But overall, again, it is important for even the overall regional security when we are talking about specifically expansion of trade or regional connectivity and economic prosperity. And it can play an important role even in reduction of poverty or hunger and economic stability, increasing the income of the people. So
Hmm.
that's in search.
So
And
moving
even
forward, urban warfare. The next topic is very important. Urban warfare. Definitely, India, or for that matter, India would not like to be seeing this way, but we have to be ready. We have to see the tactical lessons. So, urban warfare के अगर हम tactical lessons की बात करते हैं, like the way we see between Ukraine and Russia right now, and we see what what is happening in Yemen, and with respect to Gaza. So, for example, we have seen that even Hezbollah is having drone capacities, and even Iran is providing drone power to Russia. So, what we can say that intense urban combat अगर होता है, for example, Chinese invasion of Taipei, the Battle of Gaza, which began in November. It's so long, but it's still going on. Israel's heavy power has reduced much. मतलब सबको एकदम सब कुछ खत्म कर दिया, but still it is very difficult to get the precise results. So that is why it is very important to differentiate fighters from civilians. ये अर्बन वॉरफेयर का बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्टेक्स्ट है. आप ये कैसे पता करेंगे कि वो आम आदमी है या फिर वो कोई रिवोल्यूशनरी है, फाइटर है, वट एवर इट इज. So that is why जो बड़े बड़े जो हथियार हैं, they will not be used. There will be more sophisticated attacks, whether it is cyber warfare, whether it is drone attack, whether it is rockets and missiles in a miniature and in a very small form. So the point is that it is not only capturing of the territory, which is very much important, because tunnels भी होती हैं, and then there are hidden underground areas. Tunnel warfare वो भी stressful है अगर हम कहें, and something like first person view explosives, फर्स्ट पर्सन व्यू एक्सप्लोसिव्स, जो लेटेंट वंस जिनकी बात हम करते हैं, ये अभी हमने सबसे पहले जो है यूक्रेन और इजराइल के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में ज्यादा बाहर आया है. स्ट्राइक ड्रोन्स आई हैं. उसके बाद अगर आप कह सकते हो कि कटिंग ऑफ सप्लाईज, फॉर एग्जांपल, आपको याद होगा इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ यूक्रेन दैट न्यूक्लियर सेंटर वाज देयर starting with Z.
so
I
Zaporizhzhia.
will, yes, correct. So that was there, and so India is prepared for even these kind of combat situations. So for urban warfare, 2 points. What would you say India must be doing so before we move forward?
So in this case, we can talk about strengthening the cybersecurity infrastructure in India, and because it is seen as a borderless crime. Like it can happen from any part of the world. And
In
then
that context, I would like to add here, like India is going to give training to its youth in a very, very noble way. Agniveers are there, and they are going to be redeployed. So in God forbid, we will be, available, or all Indians are always ready to protect its motherland and also its assets. But then this is also one of the aspects you can always bring into picture, that how whole our youth will be more than ready to fight for its motherland. The deep sea is home to dark oxygen. Karuna, what is the concept of dark oxygen?
So we can say the oxygen is present in very low quantities in the abyssal zone of the ocean. So there we
Okay.
call it as dark oxygen.
And it is having higher near polymetallic nodules or the lumpy agglomeration, जहां जहां पर इकट्ठे ऐसे करके आपको गुच्छे मिलते हैं, जिसको हम कहेंगे हिंदी में, वहां पर मेटल्स और मिनरल्स की वजह से, जैसा कि यहाँ शो कर सकते हैं हम, दे आर वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सोर्स. सो द क्वेश्चन अराइजेज दैट जो अर्थ का ऑक्सीजन है, इस बार प्रीलिम्स में क्वेश्चन भी आया था ऑक्सीजन के ऊपर ही कि कहाँ कहाँ है, पानी में है या रेन वाटर में है. सो द क्वेश्चन अराइजेज कि अर्थ का जो ऑक्सीजन है वो एक बाय प्रोडक्ट है फोटोसिंथेसिस का. बट द क्वेश्चन अराइजेज, जो एरोबिक यानी कि ऑक्सीजन डिपेंडेंट लाइफ है, क्या वो पहले से आई थी, क्योंकि वहां पर लाइफ है फोटोसिंथेसिस के इवॉल्व होने से पहले. लेकिन डार्क ऑक्सीजन जो है वो एरोबिक माइक्रोब्स को सर्वाइव करने में अभी भी हेल्प करती है डीप इनसाइड. सो इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट आस्पेक्ट. एंड theoretically it is also very exciting.
So that's all.
So thank you very much for your keenness, for your patience, continuity, discipline, and lot of other micro details that we are working with all of you throughout the year in a different way and means, in a customized way. That is all going to help you make a better person, more equipped, more confident to have your choices. वही वाली बात है, like someone says that I am not worried about the result. मुझे हारने से डर नहीं लगता, लेकिन मैं जीत के लिए लड़ना नहीं छोड़ूंगा. So that is the attitude and that is the confidence that we portray, we carry, and we try to build the same. And we would like you to come back with more doubts, more comments, and more ideas wherever feasible and possible. Thank you very much. See you in the next session.